An expert panel has recommended major changes to elections, including lowering the party vote threshold from 5 to 3.5%. This would let more smaller parties into Parliament.
This is not a panel of experts. Where did you get the idea that they were? This is no expert panel. Some of the things they're saying are disastrous. The very idea we go to 3.5 is just all about political instability. The kind of instability we saw and we see in Israel, and we've seen for Israel for a long time, used to be in Italy as well until they raised the threshold, like Germany and like us. The high threshold means stability. And more importantly, if you can't crack it at 5%, and you don't deserve to be there. We know something about that. We've been over before and not made it. And look in the mirror, stop complaining about the system and everything else. But this is not an expert panel when they've quoted half the things they've quoted today. And they should understand this. The Serious Fraud Office got smashed making allegations that were false in 2020 and in 2022. And guess who knows that? You're looking at him, because they made false allegations against us. However, they lost in court twice, big time. But my real point is they're against actually democracy being funded in the same way as people have a privacy of the vote, privacy of donations. Can I say to you also that this is, how shall I say it, something on which the government said that there was a flaw in the law when there wasn't at all. The Serious Fraud Office just got it wrong. But this so-called expert panel is making out that they were successful. They weren't. But what they're saying will lead to serious, in my view, instability, in that you'll have far more parties in Parliament, and then things will be going haywire. Now, we've got enough now. It's a fair system at 5%. And as for these donations, what they're really saying to you, but they're not putting it in their report, is they want the taxpayer to pay for the political campaigning. And like you see in some countries, the taxpayer will pay for everything. They've not told you that. And I'd rather people, whether ordinary people like so many, or wealthier people, make their contribution at a certain level, it's disposable, and not try and fix up a system that's not broken. Take the, reduce the age to 16. Have you been to the criminal courts lately? Every barrister, every lawyer in defence is getting up and saying, well, the mind's not developed properly yet, this, and all these cases are laid out. And then you have somebody on that's 15 years of age and says he's ready to go right now, and he knows how the world is.
Well, we've got a huge array of recommendations, a suite, if you like, of interim recommendations. So there's probably a whole lot that people might find surprising in there. One is we're recommending the addition of a give effect to tetility clause, which we think will help those who are working under the Electoral Act, such as the Electoral Commission. We're also recommending some further changes to the Māori electoral option. We have some other recommendations around Māori-led community participation engagement activities that we think will support things, and quite a number of others. We had some promises under Te Tiriti, but over the years in many areas, including in our electoral laws, we haven't seen that kind of equitable treatment. We think the Crown needs to do a little bit better in this area, and so hence this idea of it adding a give effect to tetility clause we think will have a flow-on impact. We've got a range of other recommendations which we think will make the whole system fairer, clearer and more accessible. Some of those around MMP, we've got a couple that go together. So lowering the threshold for parties to get into Parliament to 3.5% goes alongside another recommendation, which is abolishing the one electorate seat rule, which is where if you win an electorate seat, you can bring others in. We think those together will make some changes. We also heard a lot about political financing. So we're making some recommendations there. A lot of people were concerned about large donors potentially having undue political influence in our system.
This entire report is a major left-wing beat-up that doesn't solve a single urgent problem that New Zealanders face. Let's move on. You know, every 3 years they appoint a bunch of people, they come up with a bunch of radical proposals, and then people recognise that every electoral system has its flaws and its pluses. This is one of those, and at the end of the day it doesn't make any difference to the future of New Zealand.
It makes sense to be lowered, and that there are a number of political parties who don't end up making it into our parliament who I think would, if they did, end up making it all the more representative.
Chlöe's worried about the Greens polling. She wants it to be down to 3.5 in case they miss out on parliament.